Number 17, Tennessee, travels to Tuscaloosa to take on number 11, Alabama. This game will be 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. Here are the big question marks. Can Tennessee run the football? Tennessee's rushing offense against Alabama's rushing defense. Now, Tennessee leads the SEC and is 6th in college football, averaging 230 rushing yards per game. Now, the magic number for Tennessee in this game and throughout Josh Heupel's tenure is 175 yards. Last year, the Vols rushed for 182 yards against Alabama. Everyone remembers the performance by Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt, but it's not to be overshadowed by how the Vols ran the football last year. 182 yards in the win. And the magic number, like I told you, is 175. In 3 years under Josh Heupel, Tennessee is 20-2 when rushing for at least 175 yards. They are 3-7 when they are below that mark. So I'll be monitoring that close. The race to 175 on the ground for the Volunteers. Now, Alabama's going to be tough to run the ball against. They've done a great job this year, allowing just 3 yards per carry. That's the second fewest in the SEC behind Tennessee. But part of why Tennessee is number one is because of their sack production, which of course counts against the rushing yardage total. We'll get to that here in just a minute. So Alabama very stout against the run there in the middle of the defense. Second question. Will Tennessee find some explosiveness? Last year, Tennessee ranked 3rd in the SEC with 80 plays that went for 20-plus yards. Through 6 games this year, they have just 23 20-yard plays. That's the second fewest in the SEC. Do you guys want to take a guess as to who has the fewest? That would be Auburn. Auburn has 22 plays that went for 20-plus. Tennessee, one of that explosive Josh Heupel tempo offenses, has just one more explosive play than the Auburn Tigers. So that's something to take into account. And last year, the reason why Tennessee won the game, they had 6 plays that went 20-plus yards in the win against the Tide by itself. So they're going to have to create some explosiveness at some point. If they don't, then it will be very difficult. And the way that they can create those explosive plays gets me to my third question. Will Joe Milton be able to hit some throws downfield? Right now, he's struggling on the downfield throws. Been really inaccurate, been very inconsistent, has had some drops on the perimeter. They've had some balls that he's placed perfectly that the receivers just weren't able to reel in. But right now, he's under 7 yards an attempt. He is 14th among 15 qualified SEC quarterbacks as far as yards per attempt. And by comparison's sake, Hendon Hooker actually led the FBS last year with 9.5 yards per attempt. So the passing attack has been pretty limited so far for Joe Milton. Granted, they're going to do a lot of screens. They're going to do a lot at the line of scrimmage, so they'll have plenty of high percentage completions, but they need to get some chunk yardage against what I think is the best defense they've faced up to this point. Then the other side of the coin. Can Alabama protect the quarterback? Alabama quarterbacks have been sacked at least 4 times in 6 straight games. You heard that right. At least 4 times in 6 straight games. Meanwhile, Tennessee is 5th in the country with 24 sacks. Now, before this season, the last SEC team to be sacked 4 or more times in 5 straight games was Arkansas in 1997. So Alabama, as far as protecting the quarterback, is among the worst in the SEC in the last 26 seasons. It's been a long, long time we've seen a quarterback under this much pressure. And Tennessee, clearly, with James Pierce and company, they can breathe a lot of fire with their pass rush. And not all those sacks fall on the fall on the offensive line. Some fall on the quarterback too. Milrow's got to get the ball out, and he's got to get the ball out quicker. Because Milrow wants to take shots downfield. That's really what it's all about. He wants to throw the ball deep. And if you look at how Tennessee defends, they try to keep it in front because they believe that pass rush will get home. And then the final question as it relates to this game. Can Tennessee neutralize their road woes? Last year, dating back to last year, yeah, they looked great on the road in Baton Rouge against LSU. They won that game convincingly by nearly 4 touchdowns. But if you look at the rest of their road performances, they had to grind out an overtime win against Pitt. They didn't look good at all that day against Pitt. They didn't play well against Georgia. They didn't play well against South Carolina, all of which were on the road. Tennessee was down 17-7 to Pitt. They were down 21-3 early in the second quarter against Georgia, and obviously South Carolina was a track meet from the very beginning. And then this year, they've played in only one truly hostile environment. That was a road trip to Florida in week 3, and they were down 26-7 at halftime. So can Tennessee exercise their demons on the road? Because it's been a huge issue for them up to this point. Some trends in this game. Tennessee is 1-5 against the spread as a road underdog since the start of the 20 season. Alabama is 15-6-1 against the spread as a home favorite since the start of the 20 season. And Alabama has covered 12 of the last 17 meetings against Tennessee. I lean Alabama in this game, but I do believe it's going to be really low scoring. I think it's going to be within a score. I think it's going to be 28-21 Alabama in this one. Both teams are really good on defense. Both teams will not give up cheap yardage. So it's going to be up to Joe Milton hitting some big plays downfield to potentially pull the upset, but I just don't trust him enough to do that. I think Tennessee keeps it close, and I think they'll run the ball with some efficiency, but I wouldn't be surprised if the passing attack is stagnant on the road against the Crimson Tide.